Good morning, my friends, my colleagues, my family, my folks that are watching out there. This is Biz Dev with Cameron Toth, or as we like to call it, Biz Dev with C. And I am your C, Cameron Toth. Looking forward to bringing this amazing content today. I'm waiting for Kesia King to get logged in here, get her light and everything. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Kesia and her amazing story. So, I was on, just took the chance to sort of was following her. I don't even know how I got connected, but I left myself open. I jumped on to a live conversation with Kesia the other night, a couple other folks, and her story blew me away, and I'm really looking forward to bringing it to you. So a little description about Kesia before I bring her on for you. So Kesia King founded Chop Shop Mobile Salon and Barber Shop while being a wife, mother of two, and full-time marketing manager at Grainger, a Fortune 500 company. While it was her dream as a teenager to climb the corporate ladder, as an adult, Kesia realized she was more interested in finding work that fulfilled her spirit. She became determined to mix her passion for hair care with a purpose, helping others realize we're more alike than different. In 2015, Kesia's detailed business plan and impressive live pitch to ABC's Shark Tank star Daymond John earned her a win and a $20,000 grant in the Miller Lite Tap the Future semifinals. Kesia used the funds to pay the balance on the Salon trailer. Since the official launch in May of 2017, Chop Shop has powered corporate events, brand activations, that's for all my events folks, right? And promo tours across the country for notable lifestyle luxury brands such as the Chicago Bears, Uber, Philips, Norelco, and Adidas. Chop Shop's mission is to create platforms that foster dialogue, connection, and exchange and dispel stereotypes one haircut at a time. She's my kind of person. Somebody that's not only about the business, but about social change as well. So without further ado, I think we got our camera all adjusted and the light right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for the next little bit here, Kesia. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to bringing your story to everybody that's going to watch this. Thank you so much for being here and bringing you in.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. You know, there's so much obviously in the world to stress about, but I'm definitely finding my fire. I think adversity and pressure makes diamonds, right? And I know that you have that kind of a story, and that's the story I think people want to hear right now. How can we take this moment and create something to propel us forward? How can you come out of this stronger than you were before? So with that said, I really want to first focus on what do you want people to take away from this talk and this conversation, and hopefully folks will chat and comment and give us some questions that we can provide content on. But what do you want folks to take away from this talk with you today?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I have learned throughout my journey is to consistently ask, why not me? Why not me? We all have dreams, we have aspirations in life beyond, a normal, our daily activities in our normal lives. And, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but we all have other things that interest us. We, fight for causes. We, have hobbies and talents that we're great at. And a lot of times we question ourselves and think that we're not capable of doing, those very things. And so I think we constantly have to ask, why not me? And I think that's the theme of my journey.
I love that. And a big theme that I've been kind of harping on, and whenever I say it to folks, I'm saying it to myself, because I haven't written a book. I grew up wanting to be a creative writer, and I really dug writing, and I sort of let somebody sort of talk me out of that, or at least myself talk myself out of that based on commentary that I had received from a college professor. And I didn't even finish college. I mean, it was just like crazy. Why do you let people get in your way kind of thing? Why not me? We were just on with the Master Networks call this morning, networking call with a kid. I was calling him a kid, but this young man, he's 17 years old. He's already written his book. So questioning folks my age and older. If you're 42 like I am, and you think you don't have a book in you, I think, why not? Right? To your point, why not? You definitely do. We all have a story that's unique, and somebody wants to hear. I'm trying to
Yeah.
talk my 13-year-old into writing a book, and I think she's going to do it.
Good. Great.
I think it's going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just to give you some background on how this all came about, like you mentioned, I worked in corporate America really since graduating from college. I've always had some form of corporate role, and that was my aspiration. I wanted to be like a VP at a huge company, and just going through the normal motions of, finding a job, trying to get hired from that job within the company, moving up. I just came across a lot of struggles. And one of the struggles just being in corporate America, and something that a lot of people are going through right now, is, reorganizations, layoffs for whatever reason. And those are inevitable. Like, they're going to come. It's just whether or not you are the one that's impacted at that given time. And when I was at Grainger, I went through 3 different reorganizations. And that is, it's no fault of the employees. It's simply the company decides to go in a different direction and they need to restructure. And that caused me to basically either lose my job and have to re-interview for a new role, or, them getting rid of the roles. And the third one, I was pregnant with my second child. And I was like, I think I was about 8 months pregnant when the announcement came. And it kind of freaked me out because I went back to like, well, what's my backup plan? So I ended up re-interviewing. I did get the role, but I went on maternity leave after that, determined to make sure that I provide myself with my own security. And so that's when I, sat down and I really thought about, how can I mix my passion with my purpose? So my passion, I've always been into hair care. In college, I used to do my friend's hair. I grew up with stylists in my family. And so hair has always been a thing for me. But, I told my dad I wanted to become a salon owner back in the day, or do hair. And he was like, no, if you're going to do hair, you're going to own a salon. So that always stuck with me. So I decided, okay, I'll own a salon. But, my passion at that time, or what I felt like my purpose was, is it's always been uniting people. Cameron, we had this conversation. I told you, like, I like to make people smile. I like to make people laugh. But even more important, I feel like, helping people understand that we're more alike than different is something that I advocate for a lot. And so I was trying to figure out how I can mix those two. And I was watching a television show and I saw someone who had like a pet grooming service, a mobile pet grooming service. And with that idea just came getting a trailer and having this mobile salon. And because I worked in corporate America, I also knew that a lot of professionals, they have very little time to take care of themselves. And so I thought, well, why not have this trailer come to the business and actually service people in their office, so they could come right out on their lunch break, before or after work, and get their hair, nails done, get haircuts, all that kind of stuff, and go right back to work. And that way it also helped the companies, it helped with productivity. People weren't leaving early from work, or, taking long lunch breaks and things like that. But that's really how it all came about.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people would be interested in how you got it. I love the story about your father, that idea of, if I heard it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just sort of the idea of, if you're going to do it, don't be an employee, be an owner.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, kind of your schooling, how you got to, because, you have a really amazing story. How did you get to Grainger? Like, I know there was a lot of transitioning, and there's a reason you moved away from Grainger, which, I have a similar story. We talked about some of the similarities of, I used to work in corporate America, and then I was like, 2008, 2009 sort of forced the hand. I was laid off, but I was like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do that again. And it sounds like that's sort of your story too, is like, you could keep pushing in this and the paycheck is nice. The benefits are very nice,
Yeah.
all that jazz. And listen, for anybody that's thinking about being an entrepreneur, listen, you need to appreciate what you have.
Yes.
I'm not saying don't do it, but just know that, a lot of entrepreneurs fail. I think Kesia's very lucky with the connections, the contacts. I definitely want to get into Daymond John and all that jazz, but that's not everybody's story, right? It's not necessarily going to be all roses. So you need to go into it, eyes wide open. There are times when I have staff out and working and I'm paying them and I am not getting paid, right? So there's all those challenges that go with it. So how did you tell us how you got to Grainger? Because I think people would love to know that, and then we'll flip into the entrepreneur mode.
Absolutely. I've always been a pretty ambitious, like, student, employee. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I got connected with this organization called Inroads, and they actually helped minority students get internships with Fortune 500 companies. So I was fortunate back then when I was in college to be placed with Wrigley's Chewing Gum, and I worked in the global marketing department. And so I did that for 3 summers, and the goal or the plan was to be hired once I graduated. But then I found out, they let me know at the end that I needed to have a master's to work in their global marketing department. I'm like, why didn't you guys tell me this? I was an undergrad. Of course I wasn't going to be, ready to hop into that role at Wrigley's. So when I came out of college, it made me very determined to just go.
What college did you go to?
I went to University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina.
Very nice.
And so, once I graduated, I ended up taking just random sales jobs. I worked at Career Builder. I worked at Chase Bank for a little bit. And it wasn't until I then worked at DeVry University and I was an admissions advisor. So that actually gave me the opportunity, because DeVry has Keller Graduate School of Management. It gave me the opportunity to get my master's while I was working at DeVry. And that, that past experience of knowing that someone is going to tell you no or can tell you no just because you don't have a master's, it drove me to just say, let me just get this, stick it in my back pocket. I don't know what's going to happen, how I'm going to use it, but let me just have it. In addition, while I was at DeVry, I was applying for roles at companies like Grainger, but they kept saying, you don't have enough experience. You don't have enough experience. So I said, well, let me start my own marketing consulting business, not only to show myself that I'm capable of doing it, and why not me? Why not me? Why can't I be a consultant? And I went ahead and started that business, and I had, maybe 6 to 10 different clients. And they were all small business owners, and I was helping them put together marketing plans, coming up with different marketing strategies, and helping them implement different marketing tactics. So now I have this on my resume, and my husband was working at Grainger, and he's like, well, why don't you just try and apply to Grainger? And so when I got hired on, that was one of the things that they let me know that stood out, was the fact that I had that marketing consulting experience. And I really created that for myself. And that's one thing that I also emphasize is create your own success and create your own opportunity. We can't sit and wait for people to acknowledge our talents and encourage us, because we always have to be our own advocate. We have to be our biggest cheerleader. And that honestly is what has continued to propel me, because again, why not me? Why can't I be a manager? And this is, once I got over to Grainger, it was a wonderful experience. And I totally agree with you, Cameron, appreciate the companies that you work for, whether they're negative experiences or positive, because you can always take something away from it. And I had both a great boss or great bosses at Grainger, but I had some really bad ones as well. And I kept thinking, why can't I be a manager? I can totally do this. I could totally run my own company, because I care about people. And
why not you? Why not you?
Exactly. Why not me? And that was something also that I would apply for roles and they would say, "Oh, you're too green." Like literally, that was feedback that I got.
And I love that, you're too green, because I deal with that. I say that to people. I have to, because we do require a certain level of experience. But I also understand, when I'm telling somebody on the waiter, bartender, chef side, the amount of experience that you need to satisfy me, you can go literally and work a couple days for a catering company, but so few people will do it. Or you could just say to me, listen, I'll work for free. And I'm not going to say no to free. It's going to be a little complicated for you. You're going to have to jump through some hoops to work for free. But that's the point, is you're getting the experience. And so few people take me up on that opportunity. I almost don't even offer it anymore, but I'm putting it out there. Hey, if you want to get into the industry, say that you're going to do it for free. If you're, somebody that wants to get into graphic design, there's 1,000 people that will take you up right now, right in this second. Yes, do some graphic design for me. And then you have a case study of that, oh, I did work for Kesia King with Chop Chop, Mobile Barber, Salon, right? That kind of thing. That is how you can get into the industry. And what I'm hearing from your story, which I think I've heard, I've been doing these alumni interviews with my students from A. Philip Randolph Campus High School that now are, 30 plus year olds, and some are older than me, but, back from the 90s. But what I'm hearing in these stories, what I'm hearing in your story, is personal branding, right? So if you'll indulge me for a moment, let's go back to you graduating University of South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. We'll see a shout out to your folks there, right? So you graduate from University of South Carolina. You know what you know now, right? So let's say you're graduating from University of South Carolina. You know what you know now. How would you have done it differently going into? I heard you worked at some different places, and then you finally got to Dubai, and you were missions. How would you do it now? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I think that might be helpful for somebody coming out of high school, somebody coming out of college. What would they do to get to the next step? And then I think this is also applicable to folks that may be struggling in their personal careers. What would you do to personally brand yourself and get yourself lined up to get the most pay, the most opportunity, that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it is a lot of personal branding. Create your own website, blog. You could do something for free, and keep in collecting your achievements and posting them, especially on your own personal page. One thing, and I'm still working on it, I'm literally now just creating my own branded website where I have all of my accomplishments, articles that have been written about me, TV shows that I've been on, things of that nature, because one, it's, like having a resume, right? But a public resume where people can book you for speaking events, where people can, inquire about potential services that you can do for them. I think that a lot of times we don't value some of the amazing and incredible things that we've done. We don't value or know how to monetize our expertise. I'm still working on that. But I think that is something that people who are extremely successful understand. And one thing that I've learned is people do business with people they like, right? It's not always about you being the best marketer or you being the best salesperson or you being the best business person. A lot of times it's about how you treat people, how people see you, if you encourage them, if you motivate them. And those are the reasons why people book you. And Cameron, I totally agree. When I first started Chop Chop, we did a lot of stuff for free, a lot more than I'd probably like to admit. We did a lot of trade shows where we gave free services. Again, this is another thing that I would, especially as a younger adult, I would encourage people to do it because you don't have as many responsibilities at that time. And so doing things for free, volunteering in organizations, volunteering to help your boss, doing extra things is definitely a way for people to see how passionate you are, how serious you are, how dedicated you are to your craft. So those are definitely things I would have done more of when I was in college.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now, but like a mobile salon barbershop with folks with some proper PPE right now coming around my neighborhood. I know I struggled cutting my own hair. It's a service that people can probably use. I don't know if you're actually got folks out right now, but let's talk about that and how you got into the entrepreneur mode. And I love the commentary on, the personal branding thing, because I think it's huge. And a lot of people are struggling with it. I think a lot of people don't understand it. And even on the business side, when it's just like not even personal branding, but now you've got a company. I see so many times the websites that, do business with us, do business with we, and you go to the about page, there's no people listed, there's no email listed to get in contact with anybody. And I don't know about you, and I want, folks that are watching this, do you do business with people or do you do business with entities? And I know we do business with like Verizon, and there's not a name necessarily associated. But until you're Verizon, I want to know who Kesia is, and I want to do business with Kesia, not some masked entity.
I know. That is a great point, and I'll be so honest, I have struggled with that. So, a couple things. One, because I've always worked for these big companies, I went into starting my own business comparing myself to larger companies,
Right.
to look and feel like a big company. So from everything from my website to my marketing, I've always kind of had that corporate approach because it's just so ingrained in me. When I first launched my website, I had an About Us page that had me. I'm so guilty of the jargon using we when it's really only me behind the scenes doing everything. But I wanted to feel, especially because my target audience it's B2B. So I'm advertising to other businesses. I wanted them to feel like we were really established. I did remove my picture and my personal bio from my website because I didn't want anything to deter people from working with us. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, those are things that I do have in the back of my mind. Do they want to work with a woman? Do they see how young I appear and that deter them? My race, does that deter them? So I go back and forth with that. But
I don't think you're the only one that struggles with that. So I'm glad we're talking about it. So what's your approach to it now?
Yeah, so right now I do not have any. I took down the pictures of me, but I have decided that I'm going to put it back up because when I tell people my story and our mission, so our mission is to create platforms that foster dialogue, connection, and exchange, and dispel dispel stereotypes one haircut at a time. The reason why we have that mission is because another reason why I wanted to launch Chop Chop is because I felt like having people in an intimate space that come from.
And wait, before you get into that, I hate to interrupt you mid, but I want people to understand, Chop Chop. So explain Chop Chop, explain that story, and then come back to this in terms of the feeling and what you want for it. But how did you actually launch this business, and what is Chop Chop all about in terms of what the service that offers? And then I think people can lead into the story a little bit more closer to their heart.
Sure, definitely. So as I mentioned before, we have basically two service methods. We have our Salon trailer. That is it has 4 stations inside, a bathroom. You can see some of the video there. A bathroom, entertainment system, heating and cooling. So this was designed for businesses, large events. It was designed for brands to be able to use. We customize our trailer for different events, so we can wrap the trailer with brands like L'Oreal or Philips Norelco, or any like beauty pampering company that wants to use this for promotional tours, brand activations, things of that nature. So actually, that was not even what I envisioned for the company. And it was really initially just to take this trailer to business offices and provide services to employees, and then also do like weddings and things like that on the side. But we got a phone call from Adidas, and they wanted us to come to the McCormick place to do these young girls in the volleyball tournaments their hair, and because they wanted to get the hair off of their face while they were in these volleyball tournaments. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so they're like, we want you to wear Adidas clothing. We're going to give you shoes and t-shirts, and we want you to come looking like Adidas staff. And they're going to create this VIP area for these volleyball players. And we want you to just braid their hair and put it up and keep it off their face. And I'm like, whoa,
that's amazing. That's an amazing story.
It was crazy. And then we got one from Uber, and Uber is like, we want you to come on site with your trailer, and we want to give appreciation to our Uber drivers and really make them feel special. And so we did that, and it turned out to be an amazing event. And what I realized is, Uber was going through some things with, how they treat their drivers and all that.
Yeah.
This was a way to show their drivers, like, we care about you. So Uber paid us, and any driver that came through and stopped by, complimentary, received any service they want. They said, just take care of them. If they want their hair washed, they want to blow dry, they want to cut, do whatever, take care of them. It's on us. And that's when I said, you know what? There are a lot of other companies like Uber, like Adidas, that want to pamper their employees or their customers during events. And so I took down my initial website. I rebuilt a new one to focus on, well-being programs and services, brand activations. And so that's how then we started getting the Philips Norelcos, the Lincoln Motors, and all these different companies. So again, another thing is just being able to pivot and listening to the market, because I think one thing as entrepreneurs is we go in with this idea of what we want to offer, why people need it, who we're targeting. But if you don't listen to the market and really understand how people view you and your company and what they want your company to do for them, if you don't pay attention to those clues, you can miss out on really huge opportunities. And the experiential marketing industry is a $600 billion industry. So companies spend buku money to make their to create a connection with their customers. And so I was like, hey, why not me? Why can't I be a part of this? And so we
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is riveting. And I mean, these videos on your website talk about, the branding aspect. I think for somebody that wants to talk about branding their business and getting the kind of attention that, I think people are tuning in and just checking this stuff out because this is captivating. This kind of experiential marketing. This is a story we don't hear about Uber, them taking care of their staff. So just you sharing that, my brother drives for Uber, both of my brothers actually that are out in Southern California. And I think there would be one of the first to line up and say, yes, we've made some money with them, but they'll also jump on that bandwagon of like, hey, I wish, Uber would take a little bit better care of us, that kind of thing. But I love this kind of story. And certainly I'm happy that Uber's around because it's put money in my brother's pocket. So you being able to go out and work with an organization and do the positive stuff that you're doing and bringing that, it's really captivating. Congratulations. It's really a big deal. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the whole thing with Daymond John and Shark Tank?
Yeah, absolutely. So so this was so before I had the trailer, I was spinning my wheels on how I was going to be able to afford this trailer. So I had done my homework. I did a very extensive business plan while I was on maternity leave. And I, had some different options in terms of the type of vehicle I wanted to use in order to execute this. And when I Googled mobile salons, there were not many, but there was one in California that I saw, and they used a Airstream trailer. So that was what I had in my head because it's lightweight, it's very cool looking. It looks like a Twinkie, but it's silver, and I actually contacted the guy in California, and I said, hey, I want to do something just like this in Chicago. Is it possible that you would share, a little bit about your journey, what you're doing? And he was the nicest person ever. Again, going back to like things that we need to do, don't be afraid to reach out to people. You may think they're a competitor. oh my gosh, he's in California. We're not competing against each other, you know? But it took me a little while, but I said, let's just email him. And if he doesn't answer, that's the worst thing that can happen. That's not a big deal. But he ended up answering, replying back, sharing so much information to the point where he invited me to come out to California to see it. So I did it. My husband and I went to California. And for me, you know, knowing the cost that was needed to go into this business, I needed to be sure that I felt like this is something that could work. So going out to California was a way to like solidify my desire to do this. And when I went out there and I got on his trailer, I said, this is it. This is exactly what I've been envisioning. So initially I was actually going to work with him in the sense that he was going to create the trailer for me, manufacture it, but it was just way too expensive. And I went home and I was just like, I have no idea where I could get $100,000 from, like no idea. So I ended up going to a lot of networking events where there were investors because I thought maybe I need to get an investor to make this happen. I actually found a guy who was very interested. And we got to the point where we signed a letter of intent to go ahead and move forward with investment. But he ended up having some personal issues that impacted his cash flow. So I was again in a position like, am I going to sit and wait for somebody or am I going to try to make this happen on my own? So long story short, I decided in my business plan, I totally forgot that I had a second option. So I had the Airstream trailer, which was super expensive, but I put another option that was a more affordable trailer, was half the cost. And so I said, let me pursue this. So I called the manufacturer up, talked to them, and I ended up deciding to take part of my profit sharing from Grainger because I was still working at Grainger at the time. I took basically my retirement and put down half of the cost of the trailer in order to get the manufacturing going. But I didn't know how I was going to come up with the balance. Had no clue. I just said, you know what? If I force myself to put in this initial investment, I'm going to have to find a way to get the balance.
That's got to be extremely scary. So, you know, one of the things that I've been, you know, working on, struggling on, whatever you want to call it, is saving money. And I've never been particularly great. So just you saying you're taking money out of your retirement, for me, I was like, you know, no. So now you've taken money out of your retirement. You've thrown it into this project that could, you know, you're essentially investing in something. It's not a full investment. You got to come up with the other half of this money, and you're forcing yourself into action. That is jumping off the cliff. Sure. That's the skydive. That is the jump into the ocean from the cliff jumping experience. Okay. So I'm captivated.
I mean, this is where, honestly, I'm a person of faith, number one. And then also, like, you have to believe in yourself. Like, when you do these kind of things, I'm one of those people, I feel like if I jumped off a cliff, I would figure out a way not to die. Like, you have to be that confident in yourself. And again, also doing the research, my business plan was like 78 pages. It took me like 6 months to write because I really did the research. So I knew deep down inside that this was something that could work, despite what other people, because there were naysayers, but despite what they were saying. And then I went and saw that this man was doing it at the level that I wanted to. So I had these little indicators that let me know, like, this is something that can work. Don't be afraid to go ahead with it. So again, not knowing how I was going to come up with this money, I decided to start like applying for grants and pitch competitions and things like that. And it's funny because like with these pitch competitions, honestly, I thought it was just going to go in a black hole. I was never going to hear from them. And this was for Miller Lite. And Miller Lite was giving $200,000 to the winner of this Miller Lite Tap the Future pitch competition. Mm. So the crazy thing is I filled out the application. And as soon as I was about to submit it, my computer crashed.
Oh, no.
Everything gone. And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and fill out. It was a long application, so I'm not doing it. Then something told me, just do it. What else do you have to do? Just do it. So I redid it, submitted it. And I was sitting about 2 weeks later, sitting at my desk. It was 5 o'clock at work. and I see an email come through and it says, "Congratulations, you're a semifinalist." And Cameron, I kid you not, I literally broke down and started crying at my desk. I was so glad it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon because there were not a lot of people there. But I didn't even know that as a semifinalist, at that point, I would be pitching to Daymond John and like 3 other very successful entrepreneurs. So at that point, I was like, this is my sign from God that I am going to win some money and get the balance for this trailer. And so I was so diligent in making sure I was prepared beyond belief. Um, I pitched live in front of 300 people at Park West in Chicago, and it was live. And I had never done that before, where I'm on stage, lights, camera, action, pitching my business in front of all these people, and then Daymond John and these other judges on the side. So, anyways, I wrote down my pitch. I recorded it on my phone every morning going to work. I was listening to the pitch every day before I went to sleep, listening to the pitch. Anytime I could find time, I was listening to the pitch so that it was just like ingrained in my head. So when I went out there, honestly, I killed it. Like I have a YouTube video of it. One of my friends took it and I did. I ended up winning. And as a semifinalist winning.
I want to see that video, by the way. We got to post that as a part of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I had fun with it too. I was nervous as ever, but I did have fun with it. And again, personality is huge. Like I will admit my business idea was not the best one, I don't think, personally, of the people that pitched. I mean, there were guys like that created some kind of fire detector that detected a fire before it even happened. I mean, there were some really great ideas, but the difference was some of them didn't know things like the cost to make their product. They didn't know they didn't know how they were going to make money off of their product.
The idea isn't enough, right?
Not enough. It's not enough. And then some of them pitched and there was no personality. It was very dull. They couldn't engage with the audience. So what you'll see when you see my video is that's where the personality matters, because my personality definitely showed. And yeah, I won $25,000 from that. And $25,000 was basically what I needed for the balance. So it was just a crazy.
Yeah, it's when you put your back up against the wall, what you're capable of. So I want to unwrap a few things. I definitely want to get into, because we talked about, before we set this up, the process of like finding people. So I definitely want to come back to that. So you'll help me remind me to come back to that. But I want to unwrap a little bit with your story and what everybody's going through now. So like personally for me, there's these PPP loans, from the government. There's definitely, I'm sure, a myriad of opportunities and people offering help and resources. And what I heard in part of your story is like you took a chance, and then it was difficult, it was challenging, it crashed, and then it was gone, and then you had to redo it. But you stuck with it and you asked for that help in one way or another. And, maybe for somebody that's having difficulty asking for help, getting into a competition, is a little bit easier. But one way or another, putting yourself out there and requesting it, right? Applying for it, going for it, getting it, that sort of thing. I think that really applies to everybody's situation right now. Like you need to put yourself out there. If you have an idea, if you have something to offer, which everybody does, how do you target that, and then how do you get it? So that was a big part of your story that I heard. What are you doing now? Like what are you doing right now with Chop Chop, since we're in middle of pandemic? What's going on right now?
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing is staying consistent. And when you stay consistent, things will come. I say we always want things to happen on our timing and on our own accord. And honestly, that's just not the way things happen. And I've seen that throughout my life where it's like, I wanted this role, I didn't get it. Come to find out later on, maybe that role wasn't the best one for me. I wanted the money or I wanted the Airstream trailer. But guess what? I realized that when I got the trailer it actually was bigger inside. It was more comfortable. Even with this business, there have been gigs. Like I wanted to do a college tour. But when I wanted it to happen, I really wasn't ready for a college tour. And then I get this college tour from Phillips Norelco this past October, and it's huge. It's a 48 city tour, and we got paid immensely. And so a lot of times I think that we want things now, but we're not necessarily ready for them. So even during this pandemic, like the 2020 was supposed to be like Chop Chop's breakout year. I had a lot of things in motion. We were talking about
it's going to be a big year for weddings. It was going to be a big year for a lot of things. Absolutely.
a lot of brand activations. I was working with agencies to do things like Essence Festival, Cincinnati Music Festival, like some of these really big ones that I've been trying to do for years. And obviously it's not going to happen in 2020.
Right.
So I have to remember and kind of go back to my roots and how this all came about. Patience is number one, and allowing things to kind of flow, but yet staying consistent. So
Right.
what I'm doing right now with Chop Chop is we are promoting virtual sessions. So like personal consultations. So like someone like yourself, you said you cut your own hair. There are people that can't and won't even attempt to cut their own hair. So our consultation, you'll have a professional barber, hairstylist, manicurist, whatever.
Man, I could have used that a week ago.
Exactly. They'll sit down like this over Zoom and they'll give you product recommendations, tell you what tools you need. And then if you go a step further and you decide to purchase like a private class, an hour-long class, they'll actually walk you through the entire process. So how to start, how to line yourself up, how to check out the back of your neck, how to, what products to use. And they'll actually walk you through step by step. And for me, it's just a small pivot. It's just something that we can do to try to help those in need right now. I've seen a lot of women say, hey, I have this no chip manicure and I'm messing up my nails trying to take off this acrylic or take off this powder and all of this stuff. How can I do it? And so, you can speak with a manicurist who will help walk you through the process to do it safely. There are things.
So the folks that are interested in that, I just brought this up. So if you go to chopchopmobile.com and you go to services, you have COVID-19 stay-at-home response, virtual personal care services. So if somebody's interested in working with you, they just go here, and I assume book virtual services. Yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. And then also if they go to the book appointment, they'll be able to go in and select their virtual personal care service. So either way, but yes. And this is
awesome. And I just, from a business perspective, the fact that you're forward thinking, right now for Toth Event Staffing, I have nothing like available to buy. And I'm like, I know that I need to change that. And it was something that we needed to do before the pandemic. And now it's like super essential. So thinking ahead and getting your business ready for the rest of the time. Don't you want to be able to take advantage of the internet and a worldwide audience? It doesn't have to be regional. It doesn't have to be national. It could be international. The internet is there. So I love that you're taking advantage of that.
Yeah. And it's okay. Like it took me a while to get to the point where I even wanted to pivot or do something like this. And I know the one thing that people don't really think about is there's a lot of pressure for us business owners to try to come up with ways to make it in times like this. It's very difficult because first you're dealing with lost revenue. I had events that they canceled and
right.
I'm depending on that, right? Then you have to worry about, the people that work for you. You want to be able to support them, but you don't know how. And then just taking time to really reflect and say, is this something I should continue to pursue? Because sometimes we realize during these times that maybe our business model isn't the best. And maybe it's time to completely be done with it, or maybe it's time to improve it. And for me, I just thought, like, what are ways that we can improve this? But I'm actually grateful that this happened because it's given me time to, like you say, wow, I need to offer more digital services. I need to diversify our offering. And it's okay if it doesn't happen right now. Like if I'm not able to send out an e-course or if these private sessions don't take, hold, it's okay. But at least it's making me think a little bit differently about how to do
So let me
business.
say
And so
something
for
here
that,
that I
I'm very
think this might be helpful to you, and I think a lot of people. So you just said, well, if these classes don't take hold, so my thinking now is changing because I'm doing all this online learning and classes and networking. So right now, advertising is cheap. If you have a service and there's a value to the service, it's not a question of whether or not it's taking a hold. It's a question that there's not enough eyeballs on your product. So, how many posts on social are you doing a day? And I'm talking to you, Kesia, but I'm also talking to everybody that is going to watch this later on. How many times are you posting on social media? Because if you post one time, one comment to Facebook, it's going to be, I guarantee you, it's going to be lost in the stream.
you're right.
Somebody might take advantage of it, but it's lost in the stream. Now, if you're doing 10 posts, so it's the same post, but you got 10 different lines on it today, and then you got that same post, you got 10 different lines on it tomorrow, and then you got that same post, and you do 10 different, so you got 30 different ways to slug this out. And then maybe you get one that has traction, and maybe somebody's taking advantage of the services and you actually have money in your pocket. Now you got a little bit of money to play with. Facebook advertising is cheaper than ever. LinkedIn advertising is cheaper than ever. TikTok, which not a lot of people are on, not a lot of people are taking advantage of, which because and right now LinkedIn and TikTok are great places because there's a lot of organic reach. So you can post
Yeah.
that content and it's just going to reach people that ordinarily wouldn't see it, that aren't in your network, which is huge. Blog post, video, 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 video. But blog post, if you're good at writing and you're not good at video, put up the blog post. If you're great at video, 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 and then get somebody to write a blog post on it too, because there's a whole bunch of people that'll definitely share it on that. You take canva.com for anybody that doesn't know what canva.com. That's how I created the visuals today. So I used a mix of canva.com and Keynote in Mac, because I have a Mac and I do Keynote instead of PowerPoint, but you can use PowerPoint or you can use slides in Google Docs, which are all free software for most part. I used a combination of the two. So I created a logo with Canva. That's what you see behind me. I've been playing with it. The fact that I own it and I didn't get a visual designer or a graphic designer to do it means I can play with it. I had business development spelled out. I looked at the way that it looked behind me. It really wasn't visible. I wanted to do the biz dev with C kind of thing. So I just put biz dev, and that way you can see it when I'm in some of the networking meetings, because I'm using it as a virtual background and I got the branding there. So, that kind of hustle I respected when you were talking about in your story. Well, I could have had somebody build it out for me. And what I've discovered and rediscovered many, many times is, as much as I want to get rid of certain things in my business that I don't enjoy, like graphic design is not my forte. It's not what I want to be doing every day. As much as I want to get rid of something, before you get rid of it, make sure that you can do it. Make sure that you have some knowledge around it, because before you pay somebody else on something that you know nothing about, get some knowledge, because then your money is going to be a lot more useful. You're not going to waste money on, ask or paying for a service that you really could be doing better yourself for far less.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Canva.com is huge, being able to manipulate your own graphics. And then I'm able to change this up and make it fresh every day because I control it all.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I will just quickly attest to doing it yourself, learning first, because like for my website, the website is beautiful, but at the same time, there's so many things behind the scenes. For example, like SEO. You can pay a designer $2,000 to $4,000 to create a beautiful website that gets no traffic, because you don't understand that you need to have SEO behind the scenes. And those are things like Yoast has free SEO that you can do on your own. Same thing with paying digital marketers. Like, totally agree. You can spend so much money paying a digital marketer to try to, get seen by your target audience, but no one knows your target audience like you do. No one knows the habits of your target audience like you do. And a lot of times you doing it yourself, you could probably get the same, if not better results without paying someone buku money. I totally agree. I've been fortunate enough to have to touch every aspect of my business. And I know enough to be dangerous, at least to ask the right questions,
Right.
those that I hire to actually execute. So that's super important. I totally agree.
I love it. And, we share a story, we're both folks that hire staff regularly. Talk to me about how, because this was one of the fascinating things and one of the things that I was just really piqued my interest with your story, the fact that you kind of research folks and find folks through social media online. Can you walk us through that process?
Sure. So initially when we started Chop Chop, I knew like maybe 10 to 15 people that were in the beauty industry. So of course I reached out to them first to see if they wanted to be contractors for when we had events and gigs and things like that. Through that network, those people would refer other people. But when I got the contract for Philips Norelco, we had to staff 48 different events at different universities. And this is across the country. So now I'm like, how am I going? Of course, I said yes, because I think that you should always say yes and make it happen. But I said yes. And I'm like, how am I going to find all these people? So I decided to take to social media. And the thing that I love about social media is the hashtags. The hashtags are very important because you can search for people that you need or things that you need based on hashtags. So I just started out doing first hashtag Chicago Barber. So I'm thinking as a barber, when they're posting, they're using hashtag Chicago Barber, Philly Barber, San Francisco Barber. So when I searched that,
So I know there's folks like my wife and folks that are doing business that don't have any understanding of hashtags. Can you walk us through? So talk to us a little bit about the nitty gritty. What platforms are you using and how you're searching using the hashtags?
absolutely. So for example, Instagram. Instagram is really big on hashtags. So if you're an artist, let's say you are a hairstylist and you post a picture of a haircut that you did in your studio, a lot of times you'll use hashtag San Francisco stylist. And you do that because you want someone that's looking for a stylist in San Francisco to find your picture so that they can see your work. So a lot of, even if, so when I post events for Chop Chop, I'll say hashtag mobile salon. So that if someone is looking for a mobile salon, when they search, they'll find that hashtag and then they'll find all these posts from different people that use that same hashtag mobile salon. So I looked for hashtag barber, stylist, things like that.
So I just wanted to point this out. So, somebody saying, well, I'm not going to find anything, for my particular thing. I hear what you're saying. But how many posts could be on Chicago Barber? 270,492 posts. That's how many.
That's how
and I mean, just really amazing stuff. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, looking at some of these cuts, really, really pretty cool. I'm hoping that there's not going to be any crazy images that pop up rehearse this, but I mean, just really great stuff. I mean, anything that you can pop up is really good. And then if you put in mobile again, hopefully,
mobile salon.
Mobile salon, and then 47,645 posts. Really crazy.
Yeah. So this is an excellent way to market yourself. It's an excellent way to shop. It's an excellent way to find people. And this is what I use. So as you can see, like with Chicago Barber, you see all these pictures. And so now you get an idea of their work. Number one, you can see how good their cuts are or how good their styles are, how good their coloring abilities are. Then you click into their profile. So this is where I search to find like personality, character. I can see if this is the type of person that I want to represent Chop Chop. If I feel like they're talented and then I feel like they're professional, then we took it a step further and I would DM them, just send them.
Talk to me about that process. So, I've struggled with this myself. So, I want to hire somebody that I see online, and and obviously persistence is a big deal. I saw a photographer on TikTok. I messaged him. He never replied to me. And it's like almost like, well, I guess nobody's going to respond to me. But, you can't go off of one person. So talk to me about that.
You definitely can't go off of one person. And so what I did was I just had a very generic message like, hey, my company is doing an event. This is our client. Here's what the requirements would be. And this is what the pay rate is.
I want people to hear that. You said this is who the client is and this is what the pay rate is. And for me, what's going to separate that message from somebody else sending something to me on social media is this is who my client is and this is what the pay rate is. And now I'm listening. You got my attention.
Exactly. Because if I just said, hey, I'm with Chop Chop, they don't know who Chop Chop is. You got to put some meat in there to entice them and to let them know that you're serious because they don't know who I am. So I put that in there, and then I had some people that replied very quickly. And those people, then I would invite them to have a conversation, set up a time to talk on the phone.
And even that time on response is sort of an indicator, right? That's something that tells you, they're on top of it, right?
Very much so. Also, for the entrepreneur, for the business owner, it also gives you the ability to see if your rates are acceptable or not, because that's this is something I had never done before. So I also didn't have a gauge as to what is a stylist willing to leave their chair at their at their salon for. How much do I have to give them for it to be worth it? You'll find that, especially for a lot of creatives, they want to do something different. They want to do something new. They want to get away from the mundane. And, there's a huge range of what a barber or stylist was willing to accept or not accept for the rate. So that's something else that I learned through this process. But anyways, after we had the conversation, I would be able to tell, this is somebody who I think would be a good fit. They're interested. Then I would give them tasks. So they would have to send a picture because the client wants to see who this person is so that they know who the person is once they come on site. They had to fill out a W-9 form, and then they had to fill out an online application. So those are kind of those little steps that, again, let you know how serious someone is, how quickly they get back to you. But actually, I use that for all 48 stops, and we hit almost every state. And so I found that to be a very effective way to recruit. Also, there may be industry specific sites that have profiles of the people you need. So
I just recently discovered that, so on promotional marketing sites. So there's definitely some places to go. Something like, I don't have the name in front of me right now, but CrowdHerd or something like that is one of them. There's some places to go, and it's really going to change the way I do business because it's going to allow me, I have a system in place and it's kept me very regional and very specific to my location in Westchester, New York, and New York City. I have a couple of offices here in Westchester and Valhalla, and then I have an office in the Chrysler building, which talk about sourcing. No secret about it. I work with a Spaces, $220 a month, and I have an office in the Chrysler building. So for anybody out there that is willing to get creative and willing to take the time to source something out, there's a solution to your problem. And then systemizing your hiring process is a big deal, so that not only is it manageable and great for you in terms of how you hire and who you hire, but it's fair. Which is another big part of, folks hiring. Sometimes it isn't fair. There's not an equal playing field. So just making it fair and everybody understanding. And I know that for myself, I'm going to be putting out interviews online, so sample prep interviews. So people, there's no secrets in my interview. There's no trick questions. There's no you can do the whole thing. The thing about that is I know what I'm doing. The people that I'm training, they know what they're doing. You can know the whole thing before, if you're not going to prepare for it, even more so, guess what? You didn't look at the interview. You didn't prep for these questions. You're not the one, and we're not going to even see somebody now because of all this stuff and all the stuff I'm learning. Everybody's got to do a Zoom presentation of themselves. They got to see the uniform before you ever come and see me live. And I know that because we're going to be national, we're going to have a process. A big part of what I do is showing up on time in the right uniform. So that's always been a big part of my interview. And it's been one of those things where it's like, I don't want to do interviews online because that doesn't really show me that somebody can arrive to a location, drive, whatever, deal with those challenges. But we're going to work out that aspect of it. But everything is going to be streamlined and processed and documented and up because we want to create a turnkey business that really has the ability to scale. What's up next for Chop Shop? I know you're offering these services now, but I know you have plans for the future. So what's coming up? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And what's all going on for you? I know that, Chop Chop Mobile, but you're dynamic, you're amazing. So anything that you got going, I'd love to promote.
Yeah. So with regards to Chop Chop, our biggest thing and our focus is trying to get consistent contracts. So like annual contracts with some of these business offices. It's great to have a one-off event for Law Day or for Employee Appreciation Day. But for me, I need to make sure that, for example, during these times, if I had contracts, they'd still be paying. You know what I mean? Because
so let me key in on this because this is something, and I was asking about this the other night. I was on with the networking group again, Master Networks that I've been. They have this business summit going on now that's free for folks to take part in. Contact me if you're interested. I'll get you the link, and you can sign up for free and take part in these business classes that are going on through tomorrow. But I had this question around, hey, I want to, create more contractual relationships because everything that I do, I'm sending out waiters, bartenders, and chefs, and it's all on a handshake. Now, that's been great for my business. But obviously, just like what you're talking about, going into rough times, being a seasonal business, we're very, very strong in May and June and September and October and the wedding seasons and graduations and reunions and big gala events, but the rest of the year is a little choppy for us. Having that contractual business, it creates steady income for the business owner.
Right.
It creates stability for the staff, right? Because they know what's coming. So having those contracts in place locks you in, lets you build. I want you to talk a little bit about that because maybe if there's some help that you need, people can get in touch with you. I definitely need that help as well. Maybe we can even work together to create a workshop around that for ourselves and others on the, how you land contracts, become an approved vendor for some of these companies. But also talk to us a little bit about profitability, right? So you're an entrepreneur, you put a huge investment into your company. How are you profitable? How do you stay profitable? And how are you taking profit from that? Because I talk about this in business, right? So if you're setting up a catering company, for example, all right, that's the most common example for me because it's in my life. 30% food cost, right, which includes everything from your marketing to the actual eggs you're putting in your pies, right? So food cost, rent, all that stuff is in there. 30% labor. Because labor is very, very costly in the food service business. And this is stuff that I didn't know when I started up Toth Event Staffing. So 30% food cost, 30% labor, and then 30% should be profit, and 10% should be capital. So capital profit or capital savings. So on top of all your costs, an additional 40% on top. So for every $60 out of 100, or for every $40 out of 100, that should be going towards savings and capital. That's my belief. Now, I didn't set up my business that way, but I wish I did. So talk to us about profitability and just the idea around what we need to do around contracts.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, knowing your expenses is huge. Understanding how your business runs and operates so that you are baking in the right amount of profit is like so important. And I'm on year 4 with this business, and I feel like I'm just now getting a grasp on that. And also learning that you're not just negotiating with your client on pricing. You need to negotiate with your staff. For example, one thing I realized is there are different tiers to the contractors that work with me. So you have some that are new, they're right out of school. Should they be getting $100 an hour for an event? No. You have some professionals that have their own liability insurance because they're contractors and they also own their own salon. So for them, I'm not paying necessarily for their liability insurance, but there are other stylists and barbers that do not have that. So when it comes to a pay rate, everybody isn't paid the same because
I love that. I love
there
that.
are varying levels of professionalism. So that was one thing I learned. I also learned that I have to negotiate with the vendors. So for example, like the vendor that wraps the trailer, I have to be working to negotiate costs down with them. So everything isn't necessarily passed to the client. I'm not always looking to gain profit just from the sale price, but I have to work on reducing my expenses. And that's something that I can definitely control. I also have created basically a here's what my price is. Here's where I can go if I need to, my price to still to still get the profitability I want. And then here's what I'm hoping I can get. But there has to be a point where you walk away and you say, no, this business is not good business because I'm going to lose money or I'm not going to make money. And at this point, I have proven.
Yeah. I think for folks that are uninitiated, I think you're probably familiar with the 20-80 rule or the 80-20 rule. I forget which number goes first, but you get 80% of your problems from 20% of your customers, and you get 80% of your profits from 20% of your customers. So who are you focusing on, and who are you serving?
It's so true. It's so true. And what I've realized dealing with different types of customers is that it is not worth the headache to work with someone who is pinching and does not recognize your value or want to pay you for your value. It's not worth it because, and I do this from a timing perspective too. So there are some clients that will drag on a process for 4 and 5 months before they make up their mind as to whether they or not they want to work with you. If it takes them 4 to 5 months to make this decision, it's not a good fit, especially when I've worked with companies like Uber that within 4 days, they booked us, for an event. So part of, I don't think we should ever get too hard on ourselves. We're always learning as the business is growing, but you also need to kind of take mental note as to like your sales cycle. How much is too much? What are people actually paying what you asked for with no hesitation? If so, that means that is a credible, amount. So there's just a lot of different ways to look at profitability. I think I didn't have a barometer. Like there aren't a lot of mobile salons out there that are doing what I'm doing. So it was really tough for me trying to first figure out, how do I price this? How do I price my services? It was just doing a lot of research. But at the end of the day, most of it was understanding how much I put into this business, and what my expenses are, and then going from there to tack on an appropriate amount of profit.
Yeah, I think where I give advice on this, and I think it's you tell me how it sounds, but because when you talk to other people in their businesses, but figure out all your expenses, figure out the profit that you want to make, right? That low, that because we all sort of shortchange ourselves. So figure that out. Make sure you got the profitability, get that price, and then double it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's tough, and I'm talking to my industry, I'm in the staffing industry, and it's cut rate, it's cutthroat in terms of pricing. I deal with so many customers. They don't want to deal with me because of my price point. Labor is one of the most costly aspects of catering period. Right. There's just, and it was sort of telling because I went through a point in my business where I was like, wow, I did the cost estimates on everything. I realized that my price point, not only was I not making money, but I was losing money on every hour I was sending somebody else. So I was billing a dollar amount per hour. And instead of making money, I was losing money per hour. So I was actually paying people essentially to book me, which that's not where you want to be. And then when I went to my clients and, I changed the pricing around, I went from $27 an hour for my basic wait staff and bartenders, $27 an hour with some of my customers, to 35. Which when you're talking about, and because rates for barbers and that sort of thing, right? When you go from a $18 haircut to a $35 haircut for us men, women, you're a little bit more comfortable with those prices, 100, 120, whatever. But for a man to go into a barbershop when he's used to paying $18 and then have to pay $35, that's hard for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I went back to my customers and I said, it's now going to be $35 an hour. And I explained why, we were actually losing money at the price that we were selling before. You know how many people questioned it, walked away from us? Very few.
Mm-hmm.
Those customers, it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was so worried about it. There was so much stress about it. There was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go out of business, but I got to make this price thing. So it forced me to put my back against the wall because I was like, I'm not going to stay in business if I don't raise my price.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have raised it more. And that was like my first impression after I went to the customer. I was like, well, maybe I didn't raise it high enough. Nobody balked. Like it was, like literally the only folks that balked were the people I really didn't want to be servicing anyways. It was a good thing that they were walking away from
that. And through that, you realize like you have to really know your own value. And when they say know what your competitive advantage is, this is so important to know that, because same thing. We did a festival, and this was not sponsored by a brand. This was just Chop trying to gain exposure. But we were at a festival, a lot of people, and we were charging $40 for a haircut. We had one barber on the trailer for this particular event. We charged $40. Oh, there were so many people, $40. I would never pay $40. But there were plenty of people that were like, this is so convenient. I'm in the middle of a festival. There's all these beautiful women out here. I need to be right. I need my hair to be right, And so they spent the money, they sat in the chair, and they were in this beautiful, our trailer, it's luxurious, And so the guy, even while he was getting his haircut, one of the guys, he was like, how are you charging $40 for a haircut? I said, you're sitting here in peace and quiet amongst thousands of people outside in the festival. You can watch TV. You can use the bathroom. I invested thousands and thousands for you to be comfortable right now. And he said, I understand. And that was it, because he could feel the value. He was sitting in it. He understood it. And if you can articulate the value, show the value, you can charge whatever the hell you want.
I love that. There's somebody sitting in a committee right now. There's somebody talking with their neighbor. There's somebody in a meeting, in a virtual meeting, dying a Zoom death somewhere right now. And they are saying in this meeting, oh, I don't think people are going to pay for that. You know what? The cost is too high. I don't know that we can actually get people to pay for that ticket price. And the question should not be, will they pay that ticket price? What is the value that you're offering, right? What are you providing? Because I guarantee you, if people feel, I guarantee you, anyone that's watching this, right? I guarantee you, if you are providing something that brings value, right? Honest to goodness value, and you can make that business case just like Kesia just said, right? You're in quiet, you can use the bathroom. There was an investment made in this. There's a business case for you to be here at this event, for you to be using this service. I guarantee you there's somebody willing to pay. And now with the internet and the phone in your hand, there's no way that you can't make that business case 100 times a day if you want to. So stop talking about the price and start bringing the value, because when I'm in, when I say that is really cool, when I say, this is something that I want to be at. I find a way to make the payment. I find the time in my schedule. I love the meetings where we're all like, well, I think people are going to be busy. They may not, they're attending this. How many people are you talking about? 2? Because if you're talking about like any kind of audience,
Yeah.
right, there's going to be people that attend. This is so fun, Kesia. Thank you so much for doing
everybody. You don't need everybody. Like if we had our prices at $15 for a haircut, we would be flooded with people for no reason. You know what I mean? We don't need everybody. We had one barber, so we only needed.
And then you're killing your people, and you're not making a lot of profit because it takes a while to do a nice haircut, and then what kind of quality, and then can you, when you need to upcharge, can you upcharge because are people comfortable with the product that you're offering? I love the pricing strategy around. Forget what the product is offering and everything. What's the price for you that's going to make you come into offering that service where you're going to feel good about it?
Yes.
Right? Because, and I've experienced this as well. I've worked with companies and I liked working with them, but they weren't paying me what I felt I was worth. And what happened? My work suffered.
Yeah.
My reputation suffered, not theirs, mine, because I wasn't into it at the price they were offering. And instead of saying, no, that's okay, I love working with you, but not at this price point, I was like, yes. And then I would forget, I wouldn't put it on my calendar, like whole mental thing, right? So I learned a lesson there. Don't work for less than what you're worth. And I tell that to my staff. I'm like, listen, you're doing something for me. If you're not happy with the payment, just say no, it's okay. We might be able to work together at a later time. But don't hurt your reputation by saying yes to something you're not 100% comfortable with.
Right. You don't want to go home at night and feel disgusted with yourself, disappointed with yourself after you've done so much hard work. And the thing is, I know I always go above and beyond for my clients. Like whatever, there's been so many situations where I have gone above and beyond, but when I'm paid well, I don't care. I'm happy to.
Yeah, you're not watching the clock if you feel well compensated, right? But if you're paid for an 8-hour day and you're getting less than what you think you're worth, you're watching that clock because you're not going to give them a second more. But if you're getting well compensated, you feel like they're giving you a good deal. I'm just happy to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah, big deal. Yeah, this was amazing. We've gone way over an hour. I feel like I could go 3 hours with you, Kesia, no problem. I definitely want to work with you. I'm excited to work with you. I'm excited to promote your services. I'm going to throw up your LinkedIn account if you don't mind.
No problem.
So people can definitely know where to get in touch with you. I've put that into the links on these videos. I'm really looking forward to it. I got 11 a.m. Time slot, and I know that's probably not the best for everybody in the middle of their day, but it's convenient and worked for me. So when you're running a business and doing things, you got to do things that work for you and your family. But I know that there's going to be a bigger following around this. I know a lot of people are going to watch this video, so I'm looking forward to the questions that come out of this, and I really encourage people to submit those questions. Get in touch with Kesia. She's an amazing resource, and I'm looking forward to all the big things to come.
Definitely.
Kesia, you want to just maybe mention the website one more time and how people can get in touch with you?
Sure. So our website is www.chopchopmobile.com. There you'll find information. You can contact us directly at info@chopchopmobile.com. If you want to reach out to me, my email address is kking@chopchopmobile.com. And then we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those social channels at Chop Chop Mobile. So definitely reach out. If you have just personal questions, I'm always happy to talk to people just about business, starting a business, their ideas and everything like that. Cameron, I am in the process of writing a book about fear. So I'll definitely let you know when that is published, Cameron, because
I love that. I took notes on that the other night. So tell us what fear stands for.
Yes, it's face everything and recover. FEAR. Face everything.
Extremely appropriate for the time. So you got to get that out. You got to get that out like
I
now.
know.
Amazing.
Pronto. But
So
thank you.
and you know, for everyone that's struggling to write their book and all that kind of stuff, what's the message we want folks to take away from this today?
So this particular one, why not me? Do not have imposter syndrome. Do not feel like you are stepping into other people's territory and you cannot be great and thrive in it, because your mind is set on it. You can do it. You can do anything. So always ask, why not me?
So I love that. So we're saying, why not me? But if you're watching, why not you? You're valuable. You have something amazing to offer. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Kesia, so much for being on with me. You're a good sport. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
All right. Take care, everybody. This has been Biz Dev with Cameron Toth. I will see you tomorrow at 11. We have Zachary Dingy. He's got an amazing story. He's a young guy that got into solar like at 18 years old doing sales, and now has a regional partnership with this Master Networks organization, which you actually have to go and purchase that. So it's like a franchise thing. And the guy is like literally 21 years old. So pretty incredible story. All right, guys. Have a great day. Looking forward to talking to you tomorrow.
Bye.